right, good evening, everyone, and call the meeting to order. I see all council in attendance. I've got some opening remarks. The public meeting is being heard by the City Council Planning Advisory Committee, and public notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The non-elected members of the Planning Advisory Committee are Mr. John Bell-Tudis, Mr. Tyler Fenton, Mr. Paul Jennings, and Ms. Sarita Van Dyke. Citizen appointees may ask questions and participate in the discussion in order to assist in making recommendations to City Council, but may not make motions or vote in connection with the public meeting. If a person or public body does not make any oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Planning Committee or City Council before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of City Council or the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the City of Belleville before the related bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. Comments received at this public meeting, as well as written comments, will be considered by the Engineering and Development Services Department in analysis of the applications that were part of the public meeting tonight. For further information on how to provide comments to the city regarding an application from the public meeting, please email planning@belleville.ca. A recommendation report will be brought forward upon receipt of all agency and public comments in the future. Any persons wishing to be advised of the Planning Advisory Committee's recommendations with respect to today's applications are requested to provide their name and address, as well as the application in which they have an interest, in writing to the City of Belleville. With that, I'll call for any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, we'll move on to the public meeting. 3.1, Notice of Complete Application and Introductory Public Meeting for Proposed Zoning Bylaw Amendment Bylaw 2076-80 and 10245, Potters Creek Subdivision Phase 9B at 284 Avonlea Road, City of Belleville. Owners Potters Creek Developments Incorporated, Potters Creek Estates Number 1 Limited, Partnership 521461 Ontario Limited. Agent is RFA Planning Consultant Incorporated, and the file number is B-77-1181. If staff could present the application, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. The subject property is between Avalon Road, Sienna Avenue, north of Hastings Parks Drive and DeWall Place, which includes the Potters Creek Subdivision Phase 9B and 284 Avonlea Road. The application proposes to rezone the subject property from Urban Holding UH Zone, Residential Rural RR Zone, and Residential 4th Density R448 Zone to a Residential 3rd Density R3X Zone to permit single detached, semi-detached, and townhouse dwellings. The proposal will facilitate the initial development of 35 single detached dwellings and 9 townhouses within Phase 9B, and also facilitate the future development of the other remaining lands. A concurrent application to redline a draft plan of subdivision has been filed for the south side of the subject property. The official plan designation of the subject property is residential land use. Staff have received correspondence from one member of the public with concerns regarding this application. These comments will be included and addressed in a upcoming staff report. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application?
Hopefully everyone can see that presentation. My name is Ruth Ferguson Althouse. I'm here on behalf of Potters Creek Developments, and I'm with RFA Planning Consultant. First one of these that I've done live in a long time, it seems. They've been on Zoom for so long. I have a very brief presentation about this rezoning application, so I'd just like to go through that right now. Potters Creek is a subdivision that was draft approved in 2008, and the rezoning is for Phase 9B, which is the very final phase of the original draft approved plan. Overall in Potters Creek subdivision, there are just over 900 dwelling units. So it's a large subdivision. It's taken over a decade to completely build out. The rezoning for each phase has occurred, so there's been multiple opportunities and considerations by the Belleville Planning Committee for each phase as it's been built and proposed. Phase 9B was delayed because of the desire for an overarching traffic study for the West Belleville urban area, which occurred in 2021. This land is within the urban serviced area of the city of Belleville, and to the south and the east there are residential lots within the Potters Creek subdivision, which essentially is Phase 9A is now in the building process. To the north are lands to accommodate a future roundabout that's going to connect Sienna to Avonlow. And to the west are existing low-density residential uses, in particular the Hastings Park subdivision, which was a subdivision that was developed by Sydney Township in the late 1970s with municipal water service supplied by the city of Belleville, and of course have since been annexed by the city. There was a process that was reviewed by the City of Belleville staff, a pre-consultation process that occurred in the summer, and we filed the applications in November. It was deemed to complete December 15th. And the applications, as you've heard from Andrew, include a rezoning application, a red line draft plan of subdivision, which this meeting is not really to hear about, but I do have information about the draft plan for the public and for the planning committee. We filed a planning justification report and a development site plan and draft plan for those applications. As well, WSE Consulting filed a series of technical reports that were requested by the city dealing with servicing, water and sewer, stormwater management, and traffic calming measures. As I also referenced, there was an overall traffic study that was done by Azura Engineers in 2021, and that looked at both the Potters Creek subdivision development and the Avonlea development, which is a subdivision to the west extending towards Walbridge Loyalist Road and the Christian School. That's approximately 700 units, which has been draft approved and rezoned. Just touch very briefly on what's proposed with the subdivision for Phase 9B. And this slide shows an image of the layout of that subdivision, and the boxes are the various building envelopes for single detached dwellings and some townhouse units. Originally in 2008, it was a smaller piece of land, and it was for 22 single detached units. There's been additional lands to the north, essentially where the entire cul-de-sac area has been added to the original subdivision lands, and that's why we're doing an amendment to the original approval. So that's about 1.6 hectares of land that's been added to make the subdivision larger. The new plan is for 44 units, and 35 are single detached, so the majority are all single detached homes. And there are 9 one-story bungalow townhouse units in orange at the lower right-hand corner of the image, and that will back onto semi-detached in Phase 8 of Potters Creek. There will be a new local street that will connect to Hastings Park Drive, and that's shown going in an east-west direction. And on this street there will be a sidewalk on the north side and a multi-purpose trail on the south side. The original draft plan in 2008 had this road designed as a 24-meter road allowance, accommodating more of a collector type of road. This particular draft plan has amended that to a 20-meter road allowance, which is the standard for a local street. That was recommended in the traffic impact study that was done in 2021. And finally, there's a future development block. It's just extra land there that will be used for a treed buffer area. WSE outlined in their report a series of traffic calming measures, which are summarized on this slide. And these were outlined and recommended in the traffic impact study. So the connection of local street A to Hastings Park Drive is carried forward as recommended. And there's a new roundabout that will connect Sienna and Avonlow Road to the north. The traffic calming measures are intended to ensure that Hastings Park Drive within 9B remains as a local road. And the traffic calming measures, as recommended by Azura, are Hastings Park Drive will have a traffic hump or speed pump that will be at the terminus of the new street before it connects to the existing Hastings Park Drive. And additionally, there will be speed control signs and stop control signs that will alert people using the road to slow down and ensure that they are stopping more frequently. Just turning very briefly to the provincial policy statement, which all rezoning applications must be consistent with. Potters Creek subdivision is within the Belleville Urban Serviced Area, which is to be the focus for growth and development in the city. There must be sufficient servicing available, which there is and has been proven through the engineering studies that have been submitted. And there will be logical extensions from the existing servicing in the previous phases of Potters Creek subdivision to accommodate all of the infrastructure that's required. It is a logical progression in the final phase within Potters Creek subdivision, and it will contribute towards the city's supply of approved land that is zoned and readily serviced for subdivisions. These lands fall within the Loyalist Secondary Plan area, which is part of the Belleville Official Plan, and they are designated residential. The applications conform to the official plan, and we provided a detailed planning justification report that reviews all the policies. The rezoning application is shown on this slide, and it shows the lands are to be rezoned to an R3-X zone. We've worked with city staff to develop a zoning category that is going to anticipate the zoning provisions that are in the new City of Belleville zoning bylaw. And as you are probably aware, the city has been in the process of updating its zoning bylaw for a number of years and are coming towards a conclusion of that process as I understand it. And they are creating new zone categories so that this particular land area that's under consideration for rezoning would follow within the terms of that proposed zoning category, an R3-X zone, which permits singles, semis, and towns. And this is also bringing forward a lot of the recommendations that are coming out through the provincial government in their Bill 23. A new definition of townhouse dwelling is introduced. Again, for those of you that are perhaps a bit new to the Planning Committee, the Belleville zoning bylaw dates from the early 1970s. There's a lot of updating that's going to occur, including that townhouse dwellings have a more modern definition to permit various forms of and more modern forms of townhouses. The city staff recommended some of the remnant parcels which were in the old zone category of rural residential, which will be contemplated for future development subsequent to 9B. There's an additional remnant that's about 1 hectare in size, also be zoned within this same category, and that is shown there just to the north of the subdivision for 9B. We've had extensive consultation with the owner of 27 Hastings Park Drive, and it was initiated on January 26th here at City Hall. I believe some of the members of the planning staff were able to attend as well. I myself was not actually there, but some of the staff were there, and Adrian Bax, our client with Potters Creek Developments, was also in attendance, and since that time we've been having ongoing discussions with the property owner. I've been very involved in those conversations and emails back and forth. And so I wanted to outline for the Planning Committee what was discussed at the meeting at City Hall, and since then that has resulted in some modifications to the draft plan of subdivision. And unfortunately, Adrian Bax is out of the country and wasn't able to attend, but he has been in touch and working with us throughout the process. The first is the concern of the property owner about when will the road connection to Hastings Park Drive occur if and the impact of the new roundabout. So this slide shows where the new roundabout is going to be positioned, where the Sienna and Avonlow are going to be intersected. And this is intended to connect two collector roads, and we'll manage the traffic through that intersection and then extend north to the existing Avonlow Road. So this is a new road network in the city of Belleville in the west urban area. And the concern of the resident was that if that roundabout was not constructed and this 9B was constructed in advance, there could be cut-through traffic occurring, and they've asked, and it's been agreed, that a barricade would be installed at the existing limits until such time as this roundabout is functional. There are other changes that have shown on this next slide, and again, these all have to do with the subdivision, but I thought it would be beneficial for the committee to understand what agreements have occurred between the developer and the resident, who is immediately abutting the subdivision. There is an easement on lot 22 and 23 that's been moved. It's agreed to be moved, and the purpose of this is to create more separation distance between the house on lot 21 and the corner of 27 Hastings Park Drive. And there's been adjustments to the rear lot lines as well in this vicinity. The purpose of this is to reduce the number of property owners that would abut 27 Hastings Park Drive to 2, being lot 20 and lot 32. They're both larger lots. Potters Creek Developments have agreed that they will pay for the relocation and replanting of cedars that were planted along the west property line of lot 32, and a shed there as well will be relocated. So those changes are all shown in red on that slide. Finally, there was a significant amount of discussion about preserving an existing willow tree, and this is a detailed outline of what has been discussed. It's certainly the intent that the other changes will help to separate the distance between the existing willow tree and the future dwellings on lots 20 and 21. That also, the intervening space between those buildings and the tree would be backyards and gardens, which should not impact the tree. It was agreed, though, that an independent arborist would determine the location of the tree, its related drip line, the current health and lifespan of that tree also be established. So this would occur this spring. And then the building envelopes in the adjoining lot would be then staked out, and a mitigation plan would be formulated if warranted. And if, in the opinion of the arborist, the construction activity related to the new homes on lot 20 and 21 abutting this tree would cause it to die, the developer has agreed that he will replace that with a 12-foot high conifer tree. And then finally, there's some additional conditions related to future homes and future homeowners and pools in the backyards of lot 20 and 21. So those are things that were discussed, as you can see, in quite a bit of detail over the past week with that property owner. And just wanted to conclude in summary that the rezoning is for the final phase of Potters Creek subdivision that was approved in 2008. There will be future phases to Potters Creek, but they will go through a separate subdivision process. This is for 44 residential units. They're primarily single detached dwellings. And the rezoning is consistent with the provincial policy statement. It conforms to the planning policies of the Loyalist Secondary Plan. And finally, it implements the recommendations for the traffic study for the Belleville West community. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from committee members? Mr. Baltutis, if you could, yeah, thank you.
If I may, I'm assuming, I hate to assume, but is it safe to say that construction access to this redevelopment would be off Avonlow Road, not Hastings Drive, as the big trucks and all that come in and out?
Just ask Adam Wilson to come up from WSE to answer that question.
Yes, that's correct. The access would come off Avonlow. There's actually an existing construction route already to the north. We would leave it in place for the duration of this work.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Millett.
Thank you, through you, Chair Ruth. The traffic calming proposed speed humps on Hastings Park Drive. We don't have speed humps elsewhere in the city. Has this been discussed with our staff that we're now going to create a policy whereby we're going to use speed humps?
That's a good question, Councillor Millett. And it's recognized that those don't exist elsewhere in the city. They were recommended in the 2021 traffic report. My understanding, and perhaps this is best directed through staff, the city doesn't have a complete streets policy yet that would also deal with traffic calming. We, in our planning report and in the WSC report, we talk about traffic calming and different ways of designing streets so that they do slow down traffic. And there's many, many ways that this can be done. Speed humps are one of many ways. At the end of the day, this was what was recommended in the 2021 traffic study, and in the absence of any more comprehensive city policy, it's one that can be done for I suppose, at this point. But I do understand the city is going to move forward with more techniques. We feel that the street's going to be slightly narrower. I've talked about how it's going to have a multi-purpose trail, a sidewalk. It's 20 meters wide. There's going to be traffic signs to talk about reducing the speed limit, and there's stop signs. It's a short street, and the speed hump. All those things should really help. But there are other techniques that could also be put forward, and we would, it may not happen in this case, but maybe the city will look at this as they do the overall complete streets strategy.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? I have a couple, actually, if you don't mind. So I read the planning justification report, the traffic study. I want to focus on the extension there. Because in the justification, we're talking about trying to slow down and minimize the amount of traffic at that location. How critical is that to be opened up versus cul-de-sac and made it just a walk-through area, similar to what your developer did up in Settlers Ridge on Thurlow Drive?
I'm going to perhaps defer that to city staff. I mean, we are following the lead from city staff in terms of, I think that in terms of a general planning principle, the desire of the city here is to see connectivity between neighborhoods and not to have a lot of dead-end streets. So that's the sort of the key thing. This is to serve just the local immediate neighborhood. It's not intended at all to service the overall neighborhoods of Potters Creek and Avonlea. That's what the purpose of Sienna and Avonlow and the roundabout.
Okay, so maybe I will defer that question, but according to the traffic study that was completed under your contract, stop signs is being recommended as a way to slow traffic. Now, I sit on our transportation committee, and the Ontario Traffic Manual is very clear that stop signs aren't to be used for the purpose of slowing traffic. They're there to control traffic and flow. So I'm curious as to why the traffic study would be recommending stop signs when that's contrary to what the Ontario Traffic Manual would suggest.
I'm going to call Adam back up.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the traffic study was completed by Azura. Neither of us represent them.
Nope.
We're just reiterating what that study said.
Yep.
And again, that study was done in 2021. It was reviewed by the city and accepted by the city for the Avonlea subdivision directly to the west. We're just implementing the recommendations of that study.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So with respect to the properties that abut on, is there assurances made in terms of grading? And the reason why I bring up the grading issue, sorry, is that in previous phases further to the south, for residents that live on the other street that escapes me right now, there is a very extreme differentiation between grades. And what's not lost on me is the abutting property owners right now have partial services. So they actually have a private septic system. And nothing's worse than a private septic system is to have runoff into your tile area.
Yeah.
So what mitigations are going to be put in place for the abutting properties there?
Yeah, so the grading in phase 8 on DeWall, that was so much higher, was at the direction of the city to redirect drainage from draining to those houses, existing houses. So by raising the grade, we've actually forced runoff to the east. But that's not going to be required in this phase. We're going to be allowed to continue that drainage naturally. So the grading will match at the property lines.
Okay, very good. And my last question is, and we all know the urgency of getting supply of housing out there. So with approvals in place, and I realize that staff have to do some work, what's the construction timeline once approvals are are passed?
We would hope that we could be into construction late this year.
Okay, and how long do you see total build-out of the 44 units?
The road construction would be 3 to 4 months. As far as the actual house construction, 44 units, it'd probably be 2 years.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions of committee members? Oh, okay, yeah, Mr. Jennings, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I was just noticing the multipurpose trail and the sidewalks. The existing Hastings Park Drive has no such facilities. So how is that transition gonna work with a multipurpose trail that leads people to nowhere, onto the streets of that subdivision? Seems like, is there a transition in plan, or a plan for that?
That's also a really good question. As each subdivision is developed, there you often would have a scenario where you would have, it may connect to an area that wouldn't have a multipurpose trail, for example, but then the city would, in the future, provide that connection. But as each phase of development is constructed, it's important that those services be put in place, including the multipurpose trail, and that it's already planned ahead of time. And then as the city, at whatever point the city looks at Hastings Park Drive and provides services and road reconstruction, so for example extending sewers to Hastings Park Drive, at that time then as the roads there are reconstructed, then they could then implement the multi-purpose trail through Hastings Park Drive.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the application? And a third time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the application?
Sorry, I'm just trying
No,
to
that's
exit
okay.
here.
I'll just keep running the meeting here. You can struggle with it. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I'm just getting out of this.
Yeah. Thank you. If you could activate the microphone there and state your name for the committee, please.
It's Christopher Destin. I'm the resident at 27 Hastings Park Drive. Opposition is a strong word. I'm not really here in opposition, but I'd like to make some comments. I've been working with Potters Creek Developments and RFA planning over the last few weeks, and the meetings have been very productive and many concerns have been addressed. Those agreed upon provisions are detailed in the letter that I sent to you last night, and I've been told to become a part of the submission and part of the plan of subdivision. As I understand it, the focus of these meetings could be restricted to only a discussion on zoning, as this is really just an application to change the zoning of these lands, and that there really is no official forum for the public to discuss concerns related to subdivision applications themselves. So I'm really appreciative and grateful that we still have a community that values public input and is willing to consider it, even if the regulations of our current provincial government no longer do. Since there's no way for me to follow up with the subdivision plan going forward, I'm here to briefly outline the provisions that have been agreed to and ask that you and city staff monitor the application as it moves forward to ensure that they are seen through to completion. Those provisions have been outlined very well by Ruth and through your questions, so thank you very much. The concerns regarding the traffic have been addressed today, and the provisions have been addressed in the presentation, and the changes to the property lines around my property have been addressed. The movement of the lots 20 to 23 to allow for more setback of the home on lot 21 to accommodate the willow tree, accommodate the cedar hedge, have all been wonderful, so thank you very much. The concerns about elevation and drainage have also been addressed by your comments, Councillor Carr, so thank you. So in summary, all of the concerns that Potters Creek Developments could address have been addressed, and in my opinion, that type of cooperation should serve as an example and be the standard for all future developments in our community, and I want to thank Mr. Bax and Ms. Ferguson Althouse for their effort in that regard. Unfortunately, we still don't have a plan for sanitation services for Hastings Park subdivision, and that's a hard one to understand. We've been requesting to be included in the servicing plans since this began in 2008. Most of our septic systems are 30 to 40 years old and nearing end of life. And as the plan stands now, the sidewalk and sanitation services will end in front of my new neighbor's property, and our new residents and neighbors will have sidewalks and sewers, but the residents of Hastings Park subdivision who have been here investing in Belleville for decades will not. Now, I'm told that the sanitation pumping stations had to be upgraded to accommodate the new homes, but none of the new capacity was allocated to Hastings Park subdivision. The same will be true for the next enormous Avonlea development happening on the east side of our subdivision. On the surface, this just doesn't make sense. How does our system prioritize future residents over existing residents? I'm told that the decision to invest in services for Hastings Park subdivision might appear in the next 10-year financial plan, but doesn't it make the most sense economically to do it now? Take advantage of the economies of scale and do it while the equipment and machines are already here doing the installation on the adjacent lands. Though I would not want to see any delay in the plans for Potters Creek developments, I ask for greater consideration by city staff to make concrete plans for services in Hastings Park subdivision so our residents can make informed decisions on replacing their septic system or planning to connect to municipal services. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions from committee members? No. Before you go, Mr. Destin, I'm going to get Director of Development Services to speak to the sanitary sewer piece that you brought up.
So in terms of capacity or allocation, that has been factored into the plans. But again, I think when we discussed in the meeting, it's council that has to approve when the capital funds get allocated. So that'll be part of the 10-year capital plan. But it wouldn't be staff's role to say it's going to happen this year or next year or the following year. That would be council's role in it. So that would be where we are. But there is allocation for the existing residents in that subdivision.
There is allocation
Yep.
in the pumping stations?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Oh, sorry, Councillor Enright Miller, did you have a question for Mr. Destin?
Sorry, through you,
Yeah.
Chair. No, I just had a
Okay.
question
No.
for Mr. Ashton. When you say allocation, is that capacity? Okay, just a clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anyone wanting to speak in opposition to the application? And I'll ask a third time. Anyone wanting to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I have a motion that the Potters Creek Developments Incorporated et al. Application B-77-1181 be referred to the regular Planning Advisory Committee meeting for consideration. Moved by Councillor Alsop, second by Councillor Brown. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to 3.2, Notice of Complete Application and Introductory Public Meeting for Proposed Zoning Bylaw Amendment Bylaw 10-245, 645 Sydney Street, City of Belleville. Ownerhood is Neighborhood Better Living Belleville Holdings Incorporated. Agent is RFA Planning Consultant Incorporated. And file number is B-77-1182. If staff could present the application, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. The subject property is on the east side of Sydney Street, north of Tracy Street, and west of Lemoyne Street. The proposal also includes the extension of Adrian Street to connect to the subject lands. The application proposes to rezone a portion of the property to from residential fifth density R531 zone and open space O1 zone to nursing home NHX zone for the west side of the property and residential fifth density R5X zone on the east side of the property. No zone changes are proposed on the existing open space O3 zone on the property. The proposed NHX zone would facilitate the development of a 5-story residential care facility with a capacity of 160 residents and includes special provisions for front lot line, yard setbacks, parking, and projected structures from the main building. The proposed R5X zone would facilitate the development of 34 townhouses including special provisions that are similar to the current R531 zone. A concurrent application for a plan of subdivision has been filed. The official plan designations of the subject property are residential land use and commercial land use. Staff have received correspondence from 2 members of the public with concerns regarding this application, as well as correspondence from Quinty Health in support of this application. These will be included and addressed in an upcoming staff report. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is anyone wanting to speak in favor of the application?
Yeah, sorry, it's not my computer, so I. Thank you. I'll just,
Sure.
yeah.
Good evening. My name is Sebastian Mitzi. I'm principal with Signature Communities and Neighborhood Better Living. We are the owners of the site in front of you today. I just wanted to take a brief opportunity here to say, our group of companies celebrated 50 years on Friday and been doing development and construction for many, many years. This project has a special place in our heart, and we are just excited to be part of a team that can bring and fulfill something that is a real dire need in our province. The second thing I wanted to say was I wanted to thank staff. In my 20 years of doing this business, I've never had the support that we've had recently from the City of Belleville staff. I'd be remiss if I didn't share that with the committee today. Other than that, thank you so much, and we're here to take any questions. Ruth will take over.
Thank you, Sebastian. This is a site that I'm quite familiar with, having been involved in the previous planning approvals for it, as well as Adam Wilson. So we're same team, and it just happens to be coincidentally that we have 2 applications tonight. So it almost never happens that you get to have me 2 times in a row. So, anyways, hopefully it's not too lengthy. This application's a little bit more involved, so the presentation's a little bit longer. So in advance of that. This is a vacant site. It's 2.3 hectares. Fronts onto Sydney Street and to the Adrian Street Road Allowance, which connects to Tracy Street. To the south is low-density residential uses, homes, and to the north there's a hydro corridor that travels east-west throughout the city, and there's vacant commercial lands zoned to the north as well as the no-frills. And to the west, there's medium and low-density uses. And to the east, you'll see on the slide here the Upper No Name Creek Stormwater Management Facility, the pond area. As referenced, this was approved as a 51-unit townhouse subdivision in 2018. And this is a picture of what that subdivision looked like. It proposed to extend Adrian Street, the unopened road allowance, and create a new east-west street from there. They were freehold townhouses. As I've mentioned, Adam and I were involved with that project known as Holly Landing, and the zoning at that time also was approved by the City Planning Committee and Council. It was never constructed, and then Sebastian's company purchased the property in 2020. And that's how he came to meet us, and we were able to carry on and work with him on his new project. So there's been a lot of pre-consultation, but the formal pre-consultation with municipal staff was on August the 3rd, 2022. And we filed the applications just before Christmas, and the applications were deemed complete in January 4th. And we also held a neighborhood information meeting, the team did, on January 24th at the Parkdale Community Center. There were a number of studies that the city required submission in support of the rezoning and the draft plan of subdivision, and these are listed here. Our firm prepared the development site plan, the draft plan, and the planning justification report. Adams' firm addressed servicing and stormwater. There was a separate consultant that addressed traffic impacts. As well, there's architectural firms working for both the long-term care building as well as the townhouse buildings, and they assisted the team with their design studies. This is a slide that shows the draft plan of subdivision. It's not part of this public meeting process formally because of the changes to Bill 23, but it does show how the land would be subdivided into various blocks. There are 8 in total. Features a long-term care facility on Block 8. It's the larger one of the blocks in the subdivision. There are 6 townhouse blocks, and they front onto a condominium road and amenity space, which is Block 7 on the draft plan. And then there's a parkland block, Block 9, which is the same as was proposed previously in the draft plan of subdivision that has lapsed. There's also an extension of Adrian Street, the cul-de-sac bulb. As I've mentioned, there will be access by a condominium road from Adrian Street to the townhouse block, and there will be access to the long-term care facility will be both from Sydney Street and from Adrian Street. There will be pedestrian connections to the future park block at the north end of both the long-term care and the townhouse block, and the parkland block, as previously proposed, would be deeded to the city, and the purpose for that will be to extend the multi-purpose trail there. This slide shows a detailed conceptual design for Adrian Street, and it's in the unopened road allowance. It'll be constructed by the developer as a public street with the cul-de-sac turnaround at the northern terminus. And at the south end with Tracy Street, there would be a stop sign. There'll be a sidewalk that's shown on the left-hand side or the west side of the new street, and it would connect to Tracy Street sidewalk and into the subdivision and the long-term care block. There will be landscaping and street trees along the new street, and shown on the slide is, as was with Holly Landing, there's a requirement for a 1.8 meter high privacy fencing that would extend all the way down on both sides of Adrian Street to flank the rear yards of the existing homes on either side. And I've already referenced that it will provide access to both the townhouses and to the long-term care. Just as way of background, this site has received approval from the Ministry of Long-Term Care to grant a license to Signature Communities to build this facility in Belleville at this site. And by way of background, as I'm sure many of you are aware, there are approximately 1,800 people on the wait list and in need of long-term care beds in Hastings County. This proposed long-term care facility will house 160 residents in 5 different units, each with 32 beds. It will have 96 private rooms and 64 standard rooms, which have private access to each room and then a shared washroom. The physical design standards for the facility will incorporate space to accommodate unique medical equipment, and these are listed here, some examples: piped oxygen, dialysis, feeding tubes, and bariatric equipment. Universal Care Canada is the management company, and they are an approved operator, and they will manage the facility that's subject to the Ministry of Long-Term Care approval, and they have existing operations throughout the province, and in providing this facility, it will result in a reduction in the wait times for long-term care beds in Belleville. This slide shows an enlargement of the long-term care facility site plan, and we are working very closely with the architect, Sam Esposito, who specializes in these types of facilities throughout the province. It's a 5-story building with 160 beds, as I've mentioned, shown in the sort of the orange rectangular block. It's positioned at the north end of the site near the future parkland and close to Sydney Street. Access will be through the entrance on Sydney Street, which is shown on the plan, as well as to Adrian Street to the east. There are 109 parking spaces, barrier-free spaces, bicycle parking spaces. Overall, the parking supply exceeds the requirements of the city's zoning bylaw. They are based on what the parking requirements are by the operator based on similar long-term care facilities. And the building essentially will screen a lot of the parking from the public road. This slide shows some more details with respect to the site design of the long-term care facility. Within the building, the center of the building, there's a central courtyard that's secure, and this will serve as an outdoor amenity area for the residents. There's a southern lay-by area that's for accessible drop-off and pickup. That's circled in red on the plan, and where the south main entrance to the building is. To the north of the building, there's a sidewalk connection that will be to the city's expanded multipurpose trail network. And this slide also shows conceptual landscaping. There'll obviously be detailed landscaping plans submitted as part of the site plan application. There's also a privacy fence that extends along the entire southern property boundary, butting the existing residential uses to the south, as well as chain link fencing around the other site perimeters. There were a number of studies that the city required to be submitted, and these slides just very briefly will submit those. They're part of the package of material that the Planning Committee and the public have access to. The first of these was the sun shadow study prepared by the architects to assess the building and any shadow impacts on surrounding properties. And the findings of that study conclude that based on the 4 times of year, there are no shadow impacts on existing residential uses surrounding the property. There's also a requirement to do an angular plane review, and this is something that has been provided for in the Belleville new official plan, which is not yet approved by the province, but has been adopted by council. And this angular plane requirement is applicable from the side lot line where it shares with existing single detached residential development, with the angular plane line drawn at the lot line, and it must meet a minimum angle of 45 degrees vertical. The angular plane was drawn to the southerly property line at 45 degrees, and the placement and height of the building meets the planning criteria in the new official plan and is deemed appropriate. In addition, to ensure that the angular plane is implemented, there will be a 20-meter setback from the south lot line in the zoning bylaw. This slide shows some of the elevations that the architect prepared, intending to create a building that has residential character, maintaining a pitched roof, and utilizing building materials such as siding and stone cladding. Turning now to the townhouse development, Signature Communities will be the builder and developer of the townhomes. There are 34 two-story units proposed in 6 blocks. All the units will be 3-bedroom units with 2 parking spaces, one of which would be in an attached garage. They are accessed by an internal condo road, and within the condo road there's also visitor parking and amenity space. And a connection to the park block to the north at the end of the road. Again, the city's official plan requires an angular plane review. This slide was prepared by the architect Andrew Smith Building Design from Cobourg, and Andrew's drawing shows that the zoning bylaw, as the angular plane and zoning criteria of the city are satisfied. There will more than satisfied. The 9-meter setback will be implemented in the zoning bylaw. So this is even a greater setback that's already in the zoning bylaw because this site was already approved for townhouses. Again, as with the other application, we've reviewed the provincial policy statement, and it is in the Belleville Urban Serviced Area where growth and development is to focus. It has full municipal services, which is the preferred method of servicing. It's designated residential, permits a mix of densities, and a variety of public uses are in proximity to the site. And our conclusion is the rezoning is consistent with the 2020 PPS. Slide shows the Belleville official plan designation. The yellow is the residential designation. It is falls within that designation predominantly. The open space block, the pink is commercial. It conforms to the residential land use policies of the Belleville official plan. In the official plan, it categorizes specialized housing to include long-term care facilities such as nursing homes and retirement homes. So that is in fact a land use category that falls within the residential land use designation. And finally, the townhouses meet the medium density criteria in the official plan and the site is already zoned for townhouses. This slide shows the rezoning that's proposed that is subject to the application and meeting this evening. The lands are zoned for residential fifth density and open space, and it's now proposed to be amended to add the nursing home zone on the block 8, where the nursing home is to be located. And there are new provisions that are also introduced in the bylaw for both the nursing home zone category. These mainly deal with FSI, which is your floor space index. It's slightly more intense than what's in the existing Belleville zoning bylaw, which applies an FSI of 1. We're asking for 1.5, which is still not at the upper range, but also there's some setbacks that are being requested so that the building can be closer to Sydney Street than what's in the current nursing home zone, and some other special architectural relief on setbacks. There's also going to be a 20-meter setback for the nursing home zone from the south lot line to ensure that the angular plane is implemented. And the same for the R5 zone, there'll be an increased setback to 9 meters along the south lot line. As referenced, there was a neighborhood information meeting on January 24th that was held by the consultant team and the applicant at Parkdale, and there were 9 residents that attended the meeting. We've tried to just very briefly summarize the comments and concerns and responses. There was a lot of concerns, as I understand it, about Adrian Street, south of Tracy Street, as a result of some of the previous construction. And so that, and I'm sure you may hear about some of that. I saw one of the written comments too about concern about the condition of Adrian Street. There were questions about the form of the townhouses and what they would be like, so that we had drawings there to show the residents that are 2-story townhomes. About the fencing along Adrian Street, this was a condition on the previous subdivision plan, and that will be carried forward to ensure there's privacy fencing along Adrian Street, so that the abutting homes on either side have privacy in their backyards. Drainage, there's a stormwater pond, as you saw on one of the first slides, for the Upper No Name Creek. And this site has been, will be designed that all the storm flows will go to that existing pond, and it was sized for this particular site. And finally, the question about construction traffic, wanting to make sure it's directed away from Adrian Street. There was also a comment with respect to a transformer from Habitat for Humanity, and this is a site plan detail. But the transformer will have to meet municipal bylaws with respect to noise. There is a privacy fence that will be constructed along the property line, and certainly will the mechanical electrical engineer that's part of the design team will be reviewing that further and providing further comments to the city. That concludes the presentation for the rezoning, the rezoning itself will facilitate the approval of a long-term care facility that is needed to help serve the city's aging population. It is very similar to a rezoning that was previously approved for the city for townhouses on this site, and there have been adjustments to the zoning to accommodate the new proposal in terms of the built form and function of the townhouses, and of course the new long-term care block. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from committee members? No, I just have one similar to the last one. So we're looking at 34 townhouses, which is great. Again, adding to the supply. My question is if all approvals are set, what do you see for timeline, or what does the applicant see for timeline on construction?
I'll ask Sebastian to answer that.
Sure.
Thank you. So in terms of the long-term care home, we have funding that is tied to a construction start in August of this year. And with all the approvals in place, we would commence construction and sales and marketing program on the townhomes at the same time.
Okay.
That would be our plan.
That's very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the application? And finally, a third time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anyone wanting to speak in opposition of the application? Anyone? Yeah, come on forward. If you could just activate the microphone and state your name, please. If you could just activate, just if you press it, it'll light up. There you go.
Okay, thank you. I'm a resident of 12 Adrian Street. My name's Ivan Emelianenko. I could speak for two other people who live at the same residence. And our main concern, obviously we have a couple, with the construction happening near to us, with the noise and the traffic that will be prevalent for the next year and a half, or however this construction is going to take long. But as I lived there for 15 years, the street has never been repaired properly. Year after year, there's been pothole repairs. There's no, I spoke to the architect previously at a public meeting, and he explained to me that there will be storm water collection on the Adrian expansion. And I just had a comment about the fact that our Adrian Street, the currently existing one, has no connections for stormwater removal. The street is in bad condition at this point, especially considering that a lot of the traffic, not traffic, but equipment that was working on the Sydney expansion a couple of years ago was constantly parked and ran through our street time and time again. And at this point, it's almost more potholes than concrete or pavement. And I would like you to consider, whenever it's possible, to thoroughly repair Adrian Street, the currently existing one, as it will serve not only the people that live on it now, but the 34 condos that are being built, and the people that will be traveling through Adrian Street, going back and forth to the retirement home.
Okay.
That is all.
Okay, just before I let you go, any questions? No? Okay, staff have made note of that, and that'll come forward later. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to the application or concerns about the application? And finally, a third time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Okay, seeing none, so let me get right on the screen here. I got a motion that the Neighborhood Better Living Belleville Holdings Incorporated application B-77-1182 be referred to the regular Planning Advisory Committee for consideration. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? That's carried. Can I get a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting? Councillor Alsop, seconded Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? That's carried. Moving on to the Planning Advisory Committee. I see we're all in attendance, and welcome to the new community members. Any disclosure or pecuniary interest in general nature thereof? Seeing none, reading confirmation of the minutes and a resolution that the minutes of the City Council Planning Committee meeting and Planning Advisory Committee meeting held on January 3rd, 2023 be approved. Councillor Alsop, Councillor Brown, all in favor? That's carried. We have no, oh, sorry, we do have a deputation, that's right. Committee orientation, Thomas Deming, the Acting Manager of Policy Planning, will make a presentation to the committee.
Good evening, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just like to welcome everyone back that is back with the committee, and welcome to our new members, both councillors and members of the public. So, Planning Advisory Committee, we have a big long agenda tonight, so I'm not going to go too deep into this, but if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time, or any of our staff. You know, we're happy to provide responses on that. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Feel free to stop and ask any questions. So just very briefly, duties and responsibilities of the committee. You know, what is the role for the Planning Advisory Committee? Without going through this, the main role is going to be providing recommendations to council on development in the city, and from this committee's perspective, what you're going to see the most is official plan amendments and zoning amendment applications. So this part right here, this is the bread and butter of this committee. So how do we make these decisions? How do staff arrive at the recommendations that we provide you? And those recommendations are our professional opinions that we provide, but ultimately it's your recommendations that go to council, and council makes that final decision. So the onus isn't really on us or you, it's ultimately on council, but we try to provide our best recommendation to help you make your best recommendation. So planning in Ontario is, it's really a top-down approach. It starts with provincial documents, with the Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, and then it goes into municipal documents such as the official plan, secondary plans. We have one, the Loyalist secondary plan, and our zoning bylaws. So the Planning Act in Ontario, that's our rule book. That's our version of the building code for planners. That sets out the rules and stipulations on how we can regulate land use in the province. So it's provincially adopted, and changes that happen mean we have to adapt to it. The Planning Act sets out regulations on what kind of applications we can accept, in the rules and processes on what we do once we've received an application. So that can include providing notice to adjoining property owners within 120 meters, that's spelled out in the Act, requiring a sign to go up on the property, how long we have to deem an application complete, and the requirements of having a public meeting, which we just had 2 of them. The provincial policy statement is a document that was actually referenced quite well earlier through the presentation, is a document from the province, which from time to time they will issue these statements, which is, they're basically guidelines for how we are to adopt our own documents. So these are directions that we are supposed to be consistent with in our decision making. Through that, we have our official plan, and the official plan is our overarching land use document. This is the document that spells out how land use is supposed to develop long-term in the city. 20-25-year plan approach. You know, it stipulates from where residential should be to where commercial should be to how we service that. So it's quite a large document. From time to time, municipalities will adopt secondary plans. These plans are essentially specific official plans to specific areas of the municipality. In Belleville, we have the Loyalist secondary plan shown on the map there, basically the old former Sydney Township area. So that is the document that we use for developments in those areas. So the Potters Creek proposal, that is the guiding document that we will use to evaluate their rezoning application. So how do we implement the policies of the official plan? That's where the zoning bylaw comes into. So you know, often people will refer to the zone as the primary. It's really the official plan that spells out whether you're residential. It's the zoning bylaw that really provides the rules on what you're allowed to do. So for example, in this image here, you'll see the R2 zone. This is residential second density in the Belleville 10245 bylaw. That allows for a number of permitted uses shown here. And within the R2 zone, there's also general provisions for each one of these uses. So for example, a single detached dwelling will have these these general provisions that they are meant to comply to. So any property zoned R2 that is permitted a single detached dwelling, if someone wants to build that, here's the rules that they have to follow. So it includes minimum frontage, lot area, setbacks, lot coverage, and building height. So if a property does not meet these special provisions for that use, they may have to amend it, or they may not be able to do it. When it comes to an amendment, you may see an exception zone or a site-specific zone, as we refer to it sometimes, such as the R2-21 zone. This is an example where they had properties that they wanted to amend some of the provisions of the R2 zone. So this R2-21, it amended the front yard depth and the lot coverage. So this effectively amended the provisions that are right in that R2 zone. So lands within the R2-21, they follow all those rules except for front yard depth and lot frontage, or sorry, lot coverage. This is one of the most common rezoning applications that you will see. They're quite minor, but sometimes they can be quite complicated. They can be not just two, it can be many, or it could just simply be one. Another type of amendment that you will see is a change in zone. So whether that's an R2 to perhaps an R4 zone, or an R2 to a commercial zone, or the question may come up of an industrial zone. So when we look at those changes in the zone itself, that's when we really have to look at the relationship with the official plan. So this section here is is North Front Street. You'll notice primarily up along North Front you have commercial land use, and to the east and west of it you have residential land use. This is the official plan land use designation, so we have these policies that dictate this is the area for commercial, residential, but beyond that, when we start looking at what types of development are permitted, whether it's single detached townhouses, that's when the zoning bylaw comes into play, and you can see on the same area that it really starts breaking it down into different zones, and which all have various rules. So an R2 zone might be single detached dwellings, and R5 might be townhouse dwellings, and R7, a high-rise apartment building. Depending on the situation, depending on the land, when they rezone the property to permit their development, they may needed special provisions to accommodate that. Maybe it's an amendment to the lot area, etc. So again, that's where we look at the official plan. We look at, okay, is this the appropriate density for this area? For example, if they're proposing an R8 zone, is it on a collector road? Is it on an arterial road? So that's when we, again, refer to the official plan policies. If it's a change from residential to commercial, again, we look at what the land use designation is. Some exceptions you'll see on here are some of the community facility zones popping up, highlighted in blue. There are uses that kind of bounce in between. Again, that is what the official plan spells out. It's your permitted uses, and then we find the appropriate zone category. So when someone comes in with an application to amend that, as you'll see from this list, the public meeting that we had previous to my presentation and the recommendation reports that you have in front of you are quite far along in this process. So initially, when staff receive an inquiry on something, we arrange for a pre-consultation meeting. This may be just with planning staff. Often for larger applications, it's with our full development review team, which incorporates staff from our transportation operations department, our environmental services department. Really, we try to get as many staff involved in that to really flush out any issues that may happen. And as planners, we're somewhat of the jack of all trades, master of none, maybe outside the zoning bylaw. So I don't pretend to be an engineer. I like to get an engineer's opinion on it. So from that pre-consultation meeting, as we evaluate their proposal, we start by looking at the official plan. Is this possible here? But how else can we address that? So is there a servicing capacity? We may need a functional servicing report. Is there traffic concerns? We may need a traffic impact study. So these are things that we look for early on, and we identify that to the applicant as what they will need for a complete application. Once the applicant has done the work and provided those documents and justified their application, they submit it. We have 30 days as spelled out in the Planning Act to accept that as a complete application. Once it has been accepted as a complete application, we really start our processing portion of it. And again, this goes back to the Planning Act. So we circulate the required parties. For example, if it's within the vicinity of a railroad, we may circulate the rail company. We circulate Quinte Conservation within their certain areas. We also circulate the landowners within 120 meters of the property. We often hear that, I wasn't notified of this. It's 120 meters. That's what the Act spells out as our requirement. We now have a map online that shows that. So if anyone, is concerned about that, we do have that available online. We also, Planning Act requires us to put up a notice sign. We'll put up a notice sign on any frontage, municipal road frontage. We recently redid our signs to make them more publicly visible, to help, again, make the public aware of our applications. And then we get to the public meeting, and that's, that's the first, really the opportunity that you hear that. Our introductory reports, we try to present all the information to you. We don't try to make any recommendations or provide any analysis in those reports. Again, that is us giving you all the information that, in our opinion is relevant. Following the public meeting, and once we've really received comments from all the commenting agencies, the internal staff that we circulate, questions that come up from you at that meeting, that's when we begin preparing the recommendation reports. And that recommendation report, that is our professional analysis of it. That is our, that's what we do. That's our putting it together, reviewing the provincial policy statement, reviewing the official plan, and providing you with our professional recommendation. Following that, obviously your recommendation goes to Belleville City Council, and they will approve or deny it. Following Council's decision, there is an appeal process. The province of Ontario likes to change the name every couple of years. Right now it's the Ontario Land Tribunal. Once an application, once Council has made their decision, there's a 20-day appeal period where anyone who is, the applicant can appeal it. Interested parties who have put their name in can appeal it. Basically, the grounds for appeal are three things. It's inconsistency with the provincial policy statement, inconsistency with provincial plans, which we have none in Belleville that affect us. So those would be like the Greenbelt plan that you hear in the GTA, or fails to conform with the official plan. So really for Belleville, it's two things. It's inconsistency with the policy statement and does not conform with the official plan. If that meets that, then that's grounds for appeal. So in your reports, we do try to structure them all the same, whether it's an introductory report or a recommendation report, but they are a little condensed, so I will just briefly touch on those. We try to provide the highlights, the main points right at the start. We try to prevent a logical order in the proposal and anything that comes up about that. The discussion is really where you'll see our analysis of the key documents, the Planning Act, PPS, official plan, zoning bylaw, and then a staff site visit. Those are the recurring ones that you'll see in every report. Some reports will have additional discussion items, whether that's OMAFRA guidelines. You have a report tonight that has the Ontario Human Rights Code in there as well. Other key ones, we do like to discuss public input, so communication and public engagement. We highlight what we did for that, but we also like to do our best to address any public comments that come up. And then likewise, Section 7, external and internal comments, we do try to present all those in there and address anything that we need to. And then lastly, the attachments, those are always important to consider because, well, that's where the majority of the 300-page reports are that you may get. So there is valuable information in there. So who's preparing your reports? Just a brief rundown. We have Andrew Chan, who you heard earlier tonight. Andrew's our zoning whiz. He's definitely an expert there. We have Eric Heimbecker, newest addition, just passed his 6-month probation with flying colors. But he's actually really excelled and taken on some GIS responsibilities for us and some work with the approvals section. I did include some additional information in the package. I don't want to touch on it because we have a long meeting tonight, but this is there, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, some additional considerations, responsibilities, pecuniary interest, just stuff to keep in mind as you make the decisions, why we have the statutory public meetings. And lastly, I did want to include some important links. So we have a lot of information on our website, current applications. You know, we are obligated to put the information online, so that's on there now in I think a very logical order. We also have our official plan and zoning bylaws on there. We have recently introduced our GIS hub, which is a bunch of different mapping features, including our development applications. So it shows all our open applications, including their notification area, general details on them as well. And then the last one I just want to highlight is the Citizens Guide to the Planning Act. That's actually part of the province's Citizens Guide that has other things, Citizens Guide to the Official Plan, zoning bylaw. It's actually a really great resource if you're looking for just, you know, a brief synopsis on what those documents are, how they're amended, etc. You know, even as a planner, sometimes I refresh on that. So it is a valuable resource. And that's it. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Deming, for that presentation, and you know, apologize to community members of the gallery that were had to endure that. But with new committee members, it's important at the front end of a term that we go through this. It's a very busy committee, and certainly I know that staff are extremely busy with the applications, and then certainly with the province putting expectations on us to have approvals in a timely fashion so growth can occur in the province of Ontario is critical. So thank you to all the staff for the hard work you do. Committee members, any questions of Mr. Demings? Mr. Baltutis.
Will you be able to forward that PowerPoint to us?
Yep, definitely. I think it was part of your package, your agenda package, but if it wasn't, I'll make sure it's sent out.
Yeah, would you please?
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is on the city website under the agendas, and you're able to get it online. Okay, Ms. Van Dyke.
I apologize if you've already answered this, but when the zoning bylaw, when was it last updated and how often is it updated?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, it was updated last month with another application, but the original Belleville zoning bylaw was adopted in 1977. The Thurlow Township zoning bylaw was adopted in 1980, and this former Sydney Township bylaw was adopted in 1988. All three apply still to the city of Belleville. Following amalgamation, we adopted those bylaws, and we are currently working on a consolidated modern version.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Can I just get a motion to receive that deputation? Mr. Baltutis, Mr. Jennings, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to correspondence. A motion to receive the correspondence received in the city clerk's office. Councillor Brown, Councillor Alsop, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to referrals from the public meeting. 6.1, notice of complete application and introductory public meeting for proposed zoning bylaw amendment bylaw 2076-80 and 10245 Potters Creek subdivision phase 9B and 284 Avonlea Road, City of Belleville. Owners Potters Creek Developments, Potter Creek Estates number 1 Limited Partnership, and 521 461 Ontario Limited. Agent is RFA Planning Consultant Incorporated, and file numbers B-77-1181. Resolution reads that report number PP-2023-11 dated February 6, 2023 regarding notice of complete application and introductory public meeting for proposed amendment to zoning bylaw 2076-80 and 10245 as amended, Potters Creek subdivision phase 9B and 284 Avonlea Road, City of Belleville, County of Hastings be received as information, and that staff report back at such time as input from the public, commenting agencies and municipal departments has been received, assessed, and addressed to the satisfaction of the Engineering and Development Services Department. Moved by Councillor Alsop, seconded by Mr. Baltutis. Any questions or comments? I have some to staff in regards to the traffic calming. The deputation and what's presented in the report, first of all, there's mention in the documentation that we don't have traffic calming policy, but in fact we do. The Transportation Committee did pass traffic calming. My question is, from the city's perspective, we want a through street, but we're putting in a speed bump, a speed reduction, and stop signs to basically limit the amount of traffic that we want to go through there. So if we're putting up that many obstacles, if you will, why wouldn't we just close it off and make it a pedestrian only, similar to what Settlers Ridge did off Thurlow Drive? And two, if we can't do that, I'd like an explanation as to stop sign control as a traffic calming measure when it's contrary to the Ontario Traffic Manual.
Okay, so probably easier to answer the last question first. So the final sort of traffic calming will be subject to sort of the approval of our engineering section and Ray. And so those will be final details through the plan of subdivision and the engineering drawings. In terms of, so whether or not sort of it's over stop signed, et cetera, we'll have that discussion at a staff level. The original intention right from the original secondary plan that was approved by council the day was to have that as a through road. Originally it was supposed to be a collector road. It's through the traffic study that was done for both subdivisions. It's now just a local road, and so that was why the traffic calming. Those are temporary traffic calming measures until sort of the more urbanized road reconstruction of Hastings Park, that subdivision occurs, and then at which case we would have sort of curbs and then maybe some narrowing of the street, et cetera, sort of it's not necessarily to limit traffic, but to slow down traffic would be the intention of the traffic calming.
Okay. So then if I could just follow up then, why wouldn't we look at just closing that up and having it as a separate street? And the reason why I ask that is that, and this has really nothing to do with the development per se. The fact that they've increased the lot totals to allow for more development is excellent, and nor do I think the street either closing up or staying there is going to impact with that growth development. So I guess it's more of a transportation question.
Yeah, and I think so. First of all, it was the whole traffic study that was done for both subdivisions were based, like, that was part of the overall analysis. I think during the presentation, Ruth had said that the principle of connectivity and complete roads. I mean, that's one of the principles, to have connectivity. I just know sort of from my recent experience, there's a lot of lack of connectivity in Potters Creek, so I think any sort of connectivity to sort of get from one side to the other would probably be welcome in an east-west sort of perspective. And again, I guess at the end of the day, that's a council consideration, but would involve sort of an update to the secondary plan for the traffic schedule, because the traffic schedule was approved to do that connection. And I think in terms of staff, is supportive of having that connection as well for sort of those east-west connections.
Okay, all right, thank you. Question, Councillor Brown.
Sorry, just a clarification through you, Chair. The Loyalist secondary plan that we're in the process of updating is the one that actually had Hastings Park Drive connecting into the existing subdivision? Did I understand you correctly?
There'd be that connection, east to west.
But it was in the secondary plan. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor? That's carried. And community members, you can vote in this portion of the meeting. 6.2, notice of complete application and introductory public meeting for proposed zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 10-245, 645 Sydney Street, City of Belleville. Owners Neighborhood Better Living Belleville Holdings Incorporated. Agent is RFA Planning Consultant Incorporated. File number is B-77-1182. Resolution is at report number PP-2023-12 dated February 6, 2023 regarding notice of complete application and introductory public meeting for proposed amendment to zoning bylaw 10-245 as amended. 645 Sydney Street, City of Belleville, County of Hastings be received as information, and that staff report back at such time as input from the public, commenting agencies and municipal departments has been received, assessed, and addressed to the satisfaction of the Engineering and Development Services Department. Moved by Mr. Jennings, seconded by Councillor Millette. Any questions or comments on this one? All in favor? That's carried. Sorry, thank you. I wasn't sure whether there was questions coming. All right, moving on to reports. 7.1 staff recommendation report for proposed zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 10-245, 228 Dundas Street East, City of Belleville. Owner is Metamore Inc. and file number is B-77-1178. Resolution is that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends the following to City Council. That application B-77-1178 to amend the City of Belleville zoning bylaw 10-245 as amended for 228 Dundas Street East, City of Belleville, be approved as follows. That zoning bylaw number 10-245 as amended be amended to remove the age restriction for the special care residential building permitted in the nursing home NH-4 zone. So we move that. Councillor Alsop, second by Mr. Baltutis. Any questions or comments on this application? Ms. Van Dyke, if you want to just activate your microphone there, please.
So I have some questions about this application, and I'm not sure.
We'll refer them once you, if you go ahead and put your question out, I'll try to get you an answer.
Okay. So, hold on, I have them written down. Bear with me. And it's in the report. I guess I'm still just, I've reviewed some of the material and I'm still unclear as to the permitted housing. So what, so if this is rezoned, or the zoning is amended or changed to prevent the age restriction, what does that do as far as the special care residential type? And I am aware of that we need to be careful about the charter, but I'm still unclear as to what it's being zoned for.
Okay.
So I'm looking for some clarification.
I'll refer that through to staff.
Thanks, through you, Mr. Chair. So, sorry, jeez. Probably should clear my throat before putting that on. The definition of a special care facility in zoning bylaw 10245, if you will, I'll just read it out for clarification. A residential building for accommodation of senior citizens wherein special care in the form of meal preparation and serving, housekeeping, and laundry services and recreational facilities and leisure services is provided for residents. So this application proposes to remove the senior citizens component of that definition. And then for, I guess, further clarification, Addictions Mental Health, Hastings, Prince Edward County, and Pathways both provided a description of the clientele that they're intending to support at that location. So our understanding is that 40 units will be referred to Addictions Mental Health through Quinty Health, long-term care, and health service provider agencies, with priority given to reducing the alternate level of care beds and beds in long-term care homes that are occupied by individuals whose needs can be met by this program. They're not meant to be transitional, but permanent housing. Pathways, alternatively, is still working on their plan, but they plan to use 27 units for clients referred through Development Services Ontario, which is a single point access for the province of Ontario for individuals with developmental disability. Sorry, I'm just looking for any further information, but I hope that answers what their plan is there.
So a question would be, are these units, it was mentioned that these are permanent housing units, are these fully independent apartment units. And the reason why I ask is for the purpose of dignified housing.
Mr. Deming?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. In terms of fully independent, I would say that they're dependent on the provider of through the care facility. Each unit will be would include a bathroom and a kitchenette for their resident to use, as well as they'd have access to the dining room and a full commercial kitchen that will be installed in the building.
A full commercial kitchen unit for the building?
That's correct.
Okay, so then they would not be fully independent units then?
The residents would have meals provided, but they would also have a kitchenette within their rooms.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So, would these units accommodate couples if one has a disability, but the other one does not?
My understanding is that these are for individuals within each unit.
Okay, so, okay. But there is no age limit. There's no age restriction. So if, I'm just looking at, in comparison to the description here is supportive housing, and so I'm just looking at it in comparison to other supportive housing units throughout the province that I am familiar with. And so I'm still trying to picture this, the plans that have been set out. I'm getting a couple of pictures, but not a concrete plan. Whereas I think the other presentations I've seen tonight have been very concrete plans that have been presented. And so, yeah, for me, I'm not comfortable deciding if I'm not seeing a specific plan.
Okay, do you have any other questions? Or any other comments? Sorry, do you have anything else, Mr. Deming?
I would just add that on the night of the public meeting, we did have both potential tenants there. This application is on behalf of the owner of the property to permit a residential care facility there. The two addictions, mental health, and pathways would be tenants. So theoretically, they might not be the tenants. They could have other residential care facility tenants at that location. So the application itself is not to permit the use. Residential care facility is already a permitted use of this location. The application is simply to remove the age restriction.
Okay. If the age restriction is removed, can there be additional requirements at the same time? I don't know if that's
I'm not really sure what you mean by additional requirements.
Can there be stipulations put in to include?
Could you give an example, just so staff have an idea of what the restriction would be?
So, because I guess, and from what I heard in the November meeting, that some of the units would have kitchens and some would not. And that then doesn't describe a permanent residential unit, especially when there's no age restriction. And whenever I look at other examples of the province, they have full kitchen, full bathroom, it's independent living, even though staff are going in and providing care, different levels of care. So an example would be to have that each unit would have its own kitchen and its own bathroom, private bathroom.
Through you, Mr. Chair, so this application did arise from a building permit that came in, and they had to get planning approval, and that's where we're at in this process. I forwarded you earlier today the proposal for their building permit, which they've actually recently updated it to include kitchenettes in each individual unit as well as bathrooms. I believe it's I think it's classified as a B3 under the building code, which is for long-term care facilities. So that component of the building code would address what are the requirements for each individual room for a long-term care facility.
So if this is approved, correct me if I'm wrong, so if this is approved, is there any stipulations that could be made in the type of specialized residential care? Because in here, there's been described people with disabilities, physical disabilities, mental health disabilities, but then also people who struggle with addictions. And so I guess I'm just trying to mitigate any of the risks that we might have with a very vulnerable population. And so I just...
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm not 100% sure about pathways. I do know addictions mental health is regulated through the Ministry of Health, so I would assume that they would be taking proper precautions and following their own internal regulations for that. This application to remove the people zoning component of it is in accordance with the Ontario Human Rights Code, which basically says we should not be zoning for the users, we should be zoning for the use. So users being people with addictions, mental health issues, long-term disabilities. So when we have an application for this residential care facility, it's not who's going to be using the residential care facility, it's is this an appropriate location for a residential care facility, which was previously approved by the Belleville City Council that this is an appropriate location. Unfortunately, our definition is from a zoning bylaw from 1977, which includes a lot of people zoning, and is something that we're updating in our ongoing consolidation of the 3 zoning bylaws into a modern bylaw that removes people zoning and is in conformity with the Ontario Human Rights Commission.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Councillor Millett.
Thank you, Chair, and I don't have any questions. I'm going to fully support this this application and sending it on to council for a decision. What this application does, and I listened intently, and I understand the reticence of some of the neighbors in this area, but what we have here is the creation of 67 units and a building that had been all but derelict. The previous use of this building was shameful, to say the least. People who were living there were left to their own devices. They were heating was inadequate, sanitation was inadequate. This is, if anything that I've seen in many, many years, an adaptive use of a facility that is proper, in a proper location, notwithstanding some of the concerns of the neighbors, but it's understandable. It's new. It would be frightening when you see that to some, that you might have people in there with mental challenges, addictions, and these are all things that, when you got a quiet, well-treated single-family home neighborhood, people get concerned. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to say those concerns aren't valid. I just know that the agencies involved in this application are 2 very, very good, very professional agencies. The 67 beds that will be utilized in this facility will free up 67 beds where individuals are right now who don't need to be there. We will have long-term care beds freed up. In some cases, alternative care beds in hospital, where people are taking up a space at Quinte Healthcare. They can live here. They can live here in dignified living, if you will. They'll have much more ability to look after themselves with the assistance of the staff that will be on hand with their own bathroom, with a kitchenette, with the ability to access meals at a communal eating area and a community rooms. I haven't, as I said, I'm struggling to put into words how much I actually think this is such a valuable addition to the city and something we need to see more of. So I'm going to support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Enright Miller.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I just want to reiterate what Councillor Millette said, and it's not lost on me either, the concerns of the neighbors at all. This is a very similar model to 111 Great St. James Street, and it's a model that actually works. This is a bit drilled down. But when you get agencies involved as being the tenant and looking after the tenants, you get a better level of use of a space. And I agree with you, the people that will be looking after this habitat, and they will be great tenants, and this model does work. And I agree, the building has been sitting there for a long time, and it really does need something. And again, it's not lost on me the concerns of the neighbors. What we have to do is make sure that the concerns don't amount to anything, and work with the people that are going to occupy this building, and hopefully that, you know, all of your concerns will be not lost with us, and they will be looked after. And I do think it's a great thing too, and I will support it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, I won't repeat what has been said, but as staff pointed out, and it's important for the purpose of the zoning here, is that we're moving the age restriction. And when we talk about a zoning bylaw that's in the 1970s, it's not up to where human rights should be. And so moving this age restriction actually complies us with Ontario human rights. And so we can't lose sight of the technicality portion of this, and that's what it really becomes, is the technicality side of things. But also it is good that we have service providers that want to provide wraparound supportive housing. We know that this is a need and we need more of it. So a good use of that zone. So no other questions or comments from committee members. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 7.2, staff recommendation report for proposed zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 10245, northern portion of 40 Yeoman Street, City of Belleville. Owner is 2749275 Ontario Incorporated. Agent is RFA Planning Consultant Incorporated, and the file number is B-77-1179. Resolution is that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends the following to City Council: that application B-77-1179 to amend the City of Belleville zoning bylaw number 10245 as amended for the northern portion of 40 Yeoman Street, now City of Belleville, be approved as follows. That zoning bylaw number 10245 as amended be amended by modifying the residential 8th density R8-2 zone to only permit a 10-story apartment building with special provisions for lot frontage, exterior side yard, parking setbacks, parking requirements, bicycle parking requirements, landscaped area, and building height, and to rezone the eastern portion of the subject land from residential 8th density R8-2 zone to residential 5th density R5-46 zone to permit 25 townhouse dwellings with special provisions for yard depths, building height, parking setbacks, private amenity area, communal amenity area, and fence height, and that a holding H symbol be applied to the zoning to require site plan approval, as well as the completion of the necessary supporting documents to the city's satisfaction prior to the development of the subject land. Councillor Brown, Councillor Millette, any questions or comments on this one? The only thing I will say is that by splitting this up, as was suggested in the previous meeting, hopefully we can see development. It's discouraging when we approve zoning and then it sits. Housing supply is critical, and we'll certainly be monitoring the development that occurs there. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 7.3, staff recommendation report for proposed zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 3014, 452 Clearview Road, City of Belleville. Owner is Greg Hagerty. Agent is Frontier Homes Quinty. File number is B-77-1180. Resolution is that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends the following to City Council. That zoning bylaw number 3014 as amended be amended by rezoning the subject property from rural RU9 zone to rural residential RR zone and rural residential RR-74 zone with a special provision to permit structures existing at the time of passing of the bylaw to be permitted in the front yard and to facilitate the creation of 2 residential lots. Mr. Jennings, Mr. Baltutis, questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 7.4, staff recommendation report for proposed zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 3014, 466A Airport Parkway, City of Belleville. Owner is Brian Reed. Agent is RFA Planning Consultant Incorporated. File number is B-77-1130. Resolution is that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends the following to City Council. That zoning bylaw amendment application B-77-1130 respecting 466A Airport Parkway, City of Belleville, be denied. Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Millette. Any questions or comments? Councillor Millette.
Yeah, this one, I have no qualms in supporting denial of the application at this stage. We received an awful lot of correspondence in the meantime about delays on behalf of CN Rail, alleged delays in responding. But at the end of the day, I think that the overriding safety issue, as it's been presented, and the fact that it isn't conforming to the official plan designation. There are just too many things that don't fit in this regard, and I just can't get behind this. And you know, not the least of which I recall when that fatal accident happened when they were doing the construction of the third rail in this area, and you know, that is a pretty scary crossing in that area. When we increase the traffic to include horse trailers, more traffic, it just warning bells. Pardon the ham-handed analogy, because you know, these aren't controlled signals as you would have at Elmwood or some of the others. These crossings are problematic when you have 3 sets of rails, including a high-speed passenger rail. We have to be absolutely diligent, and we as a municipality are responsible for approving something like this in the event that someone does lose their life or is injured in a rail accident. So I can't in good conscience support the application as it stands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the resolution? It's carried. Moving on to information matters. Resolution that the official plan and the zoning bylaw amendment monitoring report to February 6, 2023 be received. Mr. Baltutis, Councillor Alsop, any questions on the monitoring report? Seeing none, all in favor to receive? That's carried. General business, committee members will have received a memo from Mr. Deming regarding Bill 23 and accessory dwelling units. Can I get a motion to receive that? Mr. Baltutis and Mr. Jennings. Mr. Demings, could you please touch on the memo, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. Bill 23, it was quite a drastic bill that had a lot of changes, some of which we are still coming to grasp with, one of which is a change in the number of permitted accessory units that we're obligated to start permitting. So right now, previous provincial legislation had required us to permit at least one in any single detached, semi-detached, or townhouse dwelling. So At the end of 2018, we amended our zoning bylaws to permit that. We included special provisions for secondary units and coach houses, so secondary units in accessory buildings. These recent Bill 23 changes are requiring that we permit a third unit. So that is a combination of 3 units in one building that is originally developed as a single detached, semi-detached, or townhouse, or 2 in the main building and then 1 in an accessory building. So essentially what we are going to do and what we're proposing is to prepare an amendment to our zoning bylaws to reflect this, to come in accordance with the provincial legislation, which we are obligated to do. So our staff will be working on a bylaw to bring forward to council. And just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. And it's definitely a unique situation, but we have to adapt.
Okay. Any questions from committee members? No, so I got a motion to receive that. All in favor? Carried. Any other items under general business? No, seeing none, I got some closing remarks. The Planning Advisory Committee's applicable decisions will be forwarded to City Council for consideration, forming part of the agenda for the City Council meeting to be held. With that, I need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Alsop, Councillor Enright Miller, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.